see no fear. Welcome to our corner. Pull up a chair with Becky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Our Corner. I'm Beck Guns.
And I'm Lucille Nason. And we're just two women that are with one mission, and we're sharing upbeat stories of everyday people who make our corner shine. And
Yes.
Becky's
Woohoo.
going to introduce one of them.
Yeah, so we got Gary Nadeau here, and we're excited because he wrote his first book on I Love You, Moses. And it is a father and son's journey of resilience, mindfulness, and finding the light in darkness. Very, very good book if you haven't read it. He's going to talk a little bit about it right now, but it's an emotional one, but in a good way. And my most absolutely a favorite thing about it is the mindfulness on it and positivity.
Yeah, that's what I like, is that this unthinkable tragedy, and yet turning it into a positive. And
Yeah. Welcome, Gary.
welcome, Gary.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity to share the book.
Yes.
So just a little background about the book, or writing the book. My son, at 5 years old, had a stroke, and it led to a lifelong struggle for him with health issues. But as much as he lived I lost him 4 years ago. He was 25 years old when he passed, and so he lived a fairly short life. But in his short life, he suffered more than anybody I've ever known. But the people that knew him didn't know it. And if you met him, you wouldn't know it. Even after I wrote this book, which is pretty much his journey, my journey, our family's journey together, a lot of them came after and go, "Oh my God, I never realized exactly how much you guys are going through, how much he went through, how much he pushed you," because Brad's attitude didn't show it. And that's why I believe this book can be hugely beneficial. It's a great story too. I mean, a lot of people have said just the storyline. A buddy of mine actually said, "Gary, I've never read a book from cover to cover in my entire life."
Me either.
I read
Me
I read
either.
yours in two sitting. I'm like, that's the highest compliment in the world
Yes.
right there, especially
Yeah.
if you knew him. Right?
Because the way that you wrote it in the two parts, but you get right into the specifics, that's what I like, is just getting.
And when I wrote it as if I was sitting across from the table telling someone my story,
Yeah.
our story, his story. But again, his level of resiliency and his courage and his strength and his passion, he had this same resiliency and the wherewithal as an Olympic athlete. But he didn't apply it towards a sport. He applied it towards living life to the fullest. And I would look at him all the time. I'm like, dude, how do you do this? Like, how are you doing this? And we'd have discussions about it. And those are the types of stories that are in the book, and the things that his way of being and the way he modeled stuff for me. So his storyline is, his struggles with his health issues. My storyline, the struggles as a father. And up till he was 5 years old, his sister was 2.5 years older than him. So he's 5, his sister's 7.5, 8 years old. Up until then, we thought we had a healthy family. He had this stroke at 5 years old, and through the course of going through the hospitals, ended up in Boston Children's Hospital, and having a doctor sit in front of me, basically saying, "You're going to outlive your child." It's just one of those things, like, where do you go from there, right? And my storyline goes from my dealing with anger, which was the only okay emotion for a guy, or so I thought at that time.
Yes.
I think a lot of men are
Right.
taught that, and I'm so glad to see that starting to change.
But
Gary.
not only men. I think women too. Because
yeah.
I know I dealt
Well,
with
there's a
those.
lot of
More men,
rules
yeah,
what we're supposed
a
to
lot
have
of
on our
rules, yeah.
emotions, right?
Yeah.
And that's what. So that is my biggest thing for men reading the book is to try and dissolve that attitude, right? I learned in 8th grade. I always say I learned in 8th grade that being sensitive, being emotional, crying, and that not cool for a guy. I learned that in middle school. And that's at the time when you start to say, oh, okay, you got to hide those things. And then so I say I always locked those feelings in a safe, and I guarded it with anger. So that happened at 10, 11, 12 years old. And then you grow up and as you go through life. Still, I wasn't. I
Still
didn't.
the
I'm not
same.
saying I'm walking around like an angry dude all the time, but it was just short fuse. There was stuff that was because I buried stuff. Things would be eruptions rather than responses, reactions instead of responses. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a mindfulness piece we'll talk
And I
about later.
think,
Right?
yeah, but and I think Becky was right about both men and women,
Women,
because
yeah.
all of a sudden it's not cool to show emotion. It's not cool to cry, and we're learning
Yeah.
how to do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel right, and it doesn't feel like. And then somebody sees you and they go, and it's like, but I think it's important.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's so
To heal.
again for when I have conversations with men that might say this, or actually I've had people that have said to me, I started reading your book, but it made me cry, so I couldn't keep reading your book. I said, well, why? Why does that stop you from reading the book? And get their information, no judgments or anything,
Yes.
but I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, it reminds me of this or reminds me of that, and I'm like, first of all, if you knew how many tears were in the pages of that book when I wrote it,
Yes.
right? And for me, that became healing. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the experience for everybody, that crying is healing, but what I have found through my conversations and my interactions with men, women, and children, anybody, that if they take the judgments off those emotions, right? Because we sit there and say, "Oh, I'm not supposed to have that emotion." That's the judgment we'll have around it, right? If you don't have that, and you're with the experience and you cry, it's a release. And then afterwards, how do you feel?
Yes.
When you take the pressure valve off the pressure cooker, it relaxes,
Yeah.
right? And again, that's a lesson in the book. That was something my son taught me. My son taught me that. I watched him. We had discussions about that. And those are the types of stories that are in the book. And I'm a high school teacher here at the Voc,
Yes.
or Westfield Technical Academy. Sorry, I started when it was still a Voc.
Yeah.
But I would share a lot of resiliency stories when my son was still alive with my students. I would share his stories and stuff like that. And I shared them. Actually, it was a middle school assistant principal that I was going there doing social emotional learning stuff. And while we were talking about a teen retreat we were supposed to set up, it ended up not happening because of COVID. I was sitting and I was sharing stories with her that are in the book. And she had a tear on her cheek, and she looked at me. She said, "You need to write a book about." She was the first one to say to me, Jess Kennedy. She was an assistant principal. She was the first one to say, "You have to write a book about him." And now that's what kind of planted the seed.
Nice.
And I had a conversation with Brad about, hey, after you get your master's degree and I get my master's degree, how about we sit down and write a book together? He goes, oh, that'd be awesome. Because he used to always say during our conversations, Brad and I were either being silly and laughing our butts off, or talking about really deep philosophical stuff.
Yeah.
Those were the places we were usually at. We also talked about football here and there, but there was more deep philosophical stuff. And Brad would often say, "Oh, we should do a podcast. People would learn so much from listening to us."
Wow.
That was Brad's kind of reaction.
And that was the other thing I was going to say about the cry part, though, is also I hear people say, well, it's been so many years. Why are you still, that day, or this happened? And
Yeah.
you hear
Yeah,
that a
it's
lot.
true, yeah.
You
Oh, yeah?
do.
Yeah.
And it's like you're supposed to get over something.
Because there's an
Yeah.
expectation that
Yeah.
No.
grief is, they talk about the grieving process. So you go through the 7 stages of grieving and then you're done.
No,
You're not.
it's-
I will tell you right now, till the day I die, I will have tears on my cheeks about my,
Yeah.
and I'll.
Yeah.
There may be a chance you'll see tears on my cheeks over the
Yeah,
course of this
yeah.
hour, because anytime I talk about my son, when I feel him, I miss him. I miss him dearly, but I also appreciate the time that I had with him, who he was, and the relationship that we had.
Yeah.
He was here for 25 years, so obviously I was with my son for 25 years. In that 25 years, I had way more beneficial, close, connective experiences with my son than I ever did with my dad. And my dad, we weren't a stranger. No, we got along great. I loved
Yeah.
my dad. And he loved me. He passed in last October or whatever. But it was a different generation. We didn't connect the way that Bradley and I connected.
Yeah.
And
It
a lot
is
of it
like
has to
that
do with
place.
the conversation that we would have. And
Well,
things like
because
that,
the
too.
no crying and no emotion was
Right.
really big back
Right.
in the 50s. And
Yeah.
And
Oh,
because
big
I told
time.
you so was the answer I got for everything.
No, but yeah, I mean it's true. It's now. Well, my brother passed away. Like we were talking at the book signing, because Gary came to Energy Up and had a book signing. He spoke and did a book signing. But yeah, my brother. It's gonna be 4 years. 4 years that he passed, and I still
Well, you do.
It's just been
yeah.
yeah. It's,
Well, how else would
Like-
you keep their memory alive?
Right.
To me, if I am to keep his memory alive. It's going to bring sadness when I'm thinking about him, when I'm visiting him, when I'm talking to him. The only other option is then to not keep his memory alive, to not keep him in my heart,
No.
to not keep him with me. Why would I? I wouldn't choose that, right? So yes, sadness is going to come, and now my daughter and I talk about that. Now it's my daughter and I that have deep philosophical conversations.
Yeah.
We did also, but Brad and I were just we were just on the same wavelength all the time.
And then when people, my parents lost two of my sisters, and it destroyed my family because there was no one there at that time. Alcohol took them away from us, and they didn't realize what they had left. And like my mom passed on Christmas morning unexpectedly, and it's difficult to come back from things like that. And I think that's another thing, like with Becky, she knows, I know, and that's. I guess I want to lead into you're making it a positive, and how are you making it a positive when you're in such a dark place to find the light again? And I think that's by, like at Christmas time, I'll go out and I'll buy lottery tickets,
Right.
like a couple $100s. We pass them out to people so we can, see
Right.
that smile
Wow.
and honor,
Yeah.
and like you.
Well, so my legacy for Brad was the book, and it took me. So I I had said to him when were in the hospital and found out that he had days left, what ended up being hours. I promised him a legacy because we had talked about the book and stuff like that. I'm going to do it. So, and I'm glad that I actually said that to him because there was a lot of times when it was tough to keep going to writing that book.
Yeah.
But my wife, she's the same way. Wants to spread joy.
It was a pleasure meeting her.
Yeah.
Well, I always say Brad got the best of both of us. Like, he didn't get any of our shortcomings. He got all our good stuff.
Yeah.
That-
Well, I mean, talking with her because we said we'd have her on here, and she goes, "No, we work so good together because I'm behind the scenes and he's up front
Yeah,
talking."
yeah.
And I'm like, "I get it,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But on I think it was his birthday. His birthday, the birthday after he passed, and she does it quietly. Like, she doesn't do it for pomp and circumstance. She really does it to put a smile on someone else's face. But she went to Dunkin' Donuts and bought I don't know how many, she $200 worth of $10 gift card, 20 or 30 $10 gift cards, made a little sticker that said, "This is honoring my son, in honor of my son that we lost, have a coffee on him. He loved being kind and
I
helping
love
people
that.
out." And she just went to a grocery store and left them under random windshield wipers.
Yeah.
And that, again, I found out afterwards. It's like I said, it's not pomp and circumstance for her. It's all she, in her mind, every time she put that under a windshield wiper, she's really good at vision. So she pictured the smile that ended up
Yep.
on this person's face, that person's face, that
Yeah.
person's face.
We gave
Yeah.
a lottery ticket for a woman one time, and she goes, "Well, can I have your number? Because what if I win?" I said, "You win."
You win.
And we'll be really happy,
Yeah,
but
right.
we probably won't know, but
Yeah,
enjoy
right.
it,
Well, maybe we'll-
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you visualize that and it helps.
And that's, in my opinion, of course, I believe that this book, and actually, I shouldn't just say I actually now have a lot of validation in what I thought this book could do. After it went out, did really well out of the gate. A lot of people didn't know the family and stuff, but there's been a lot of people that people that knew us that they've handed the book off to that have reached out and said, "Oh my God," and this helped me. With my gratitude practice, this helped me to understand a little bit more of this about life, or a little bit more to appreciate to appreciate the things and not sweat the small stuff. And that there's just been so much feedback about
Yeah.
that, and that was my hope. I think in the introductory chapter in here, I talk about the fact that his way of being and explaining his way of being he's not Superman. He was a person that made choices, and those choices are what created him to have this incredible.
life.
Short life, but a happy life. Brad had a smile on his face all the time, except when he was curled up in a ball, screaming on the floor in pain, like pain. Like, I mean, I can't. Those are the things when I feel them. I'm like, oh, those were when he got the information that he was on short time. Like the hospice is going to be involved. Blah 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 blah. I was looking at him when the doctor starts explaining that, and Brad we're both very straightforward, blunt, authentic, honest communication. Like that's just how we both operate. So Brad just looked at him and said, "How long? How long?" With not like with tears in his eyes, with apprehension or any kind of aggression. It was just, okay, I need this information. How long do I got? And he said, well, when we get into areas of what your health is, we're looking at days. And I could tell that even the way he said that might not even be days, right? But I was looking at Brad when he got that information, and I actually saw him relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Brad was a fighter, and he fought through some stuff that they make movies about. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not kidding.
Yeah.
They make movies about the stuff that he was able to persevere through and come out and right after have a smile on his face, So I think in that morning I had gone in, and this story's in the book, I had gone in the room and he's rocking back and forth on the hospital bed in just incredible pain. He said, it's like I swallowed a hot coal, it's stuck right here, because it was his lungs that eventually, his health condition affected his smooth muscle cells, organ tissue. So his heart was a problem first, then his gastrointestinal tract, then his lungs. So he said, I feel like I swallowed a hot coal and I can't get it out of my chest. And it's like burning. And he's rocking back and forth. And he looked at me. He had tears in his eyes. Like, I don't know if I can do it anymore, Dad.
Yeah.
And I mean, do what? And he said, I can't fight anymore. And I looked at him and I said, don't have to. If you're trying to persevere to stay here a little longer for us, you don't need to do that. Which is another thing that's really, that's hard, right? We have a hard time putting our dogs down when they when they don't have quality of life left anymore. But how was I? A lot of people was, how were you able to do that? I said, because I wasn't thinking of me, I was thinking of him.
Yeah.
Just like half the time he was
Yeah.
thinking about us, he wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about himself, right? It was that human connection, which is another huge storyline in the book. That's how that's what kept Brad going. That's why Brad always had us. He was he was charismatic, and he was incredibly good at creating human connection with whoever he was with at the time, whether he knew him or didn't know him.
Yeah.
And we would share tons of stories like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like with him having the stroke at 5, which was a blessing, because then you got to have him for the 20 years.
but we didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
talk about that. That's 2 of the tattoos. So I have. These are all messages to myself. I'm a pretty dense person, so I got a lot of messages to myself. But the arrows are accepting the first arrow and avoiding the second arrow. Life dishes stuff out. Nobody goes through unscathed.
No.
And our ability to accept it and move on is what Bradley could do. And that's what this is a reminder. You got to accept the first and just move on. Otherwise, you stay in the second arrow. The story about it. Oh my God, this is going to be so painful. This is going to happen. It's
Yes.
gonna, you can
Like,
go from,
yeah.
I just stubbed my toe, now I can't go to work. And if I don't go to work, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. If I don't pay my bills, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my house. You stub your toe,
And
you're
yeah.
homeless in a minute, right? It's like
Yeah.
you can mentally go to these crazy
Yes,
places, right?
yes, you can.
So that's the story. So that's the avoidance of the second arrow, right? So Brad was really good at that, and I talk about in the book he was 21 years old by the time we finally found out what his disorder was. He just kept having all this stuff, and they could never. Well, we think it's this, and it might be a little this, but they could never piece it together. He ended up being. He was the 21st person diagnosed with this chronic arterial and intestinal dysrhythmia, and when he got that and the doctors explained to him everything that was going on, I instantly went to his stroke. They could never explain his stroke, even with the disorder. Blood clots isn't necessarily something that goes along with this disorder, but the blood clot, he had a blood clot. That's what he had the stroke. That was what led him to go be in the hospital. Us to bring him to the hospital. Long story short is that Boston Children gets a pacemaker. If he had not gotten that pacemaker, he could have had heart failure at 12 years old in the backyard. And I believe a lot of the reasons that only 21 people have been diagnosed with this is because that's what happened.
It's an
a
amazing
child passes away, they might look into it a little bit, but you're not going down to the genetics of what's up with this person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, so
amazing-
that stroke at the
amazing
time was the absolute, when I can still see the doctor's face. I could still feel everything I felt when he said to me that was telling me that he's got restrictive cardiomyopathy is what they thought he had at the time, progressive disorder. They thought he was going to need a heart transplant in his teenage years. From then, it was just going to be a bunch of issues. So basically, I heard it as, and maybe this was my negative attitude at the time, I'm going to outlive my son, right? And I still remember that to this day and how horrific that was for me. But then here we are, fast forward to when he's 21, to find out if that hadn't happened, I would have lost him in a split second with no preparation. In his, where would I be? I'd probably be at the bottom of a bottle of bourbon right now because I didn't develop my mindfulness practice till 2016.
Was it 2016 when you started? And what made you, what happened?
So my mindfulness, actually the biggest reason I started my mindfulness practice because I was having back issues and stuff like that, and someone said you should try yoga. Yoga's great for that. So I went to
Yoga is good.
So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna tell anybody, but I'll go to this yoga class, right?
I have to wear those little things.
So, and the yoga instructor, I think her name was Jen. She did the shavasana at the end, which if you've ever done yoga, you just lay flat and it's called
That's the best part.
pose or whatever. Basically,
You
it's
snore.
it's a small meditation, right? I didn't know it.
But it's the best part of
Oh, it is because it's like all that other stuff hurts. Stretching hurts, man. I don't touch your toes. I'll leave that to you. I can't touch my. So afterwards, she did the shavasana. She did basically like a body scan meditate. Relax your foot, relax your calf, or relax your other foot, relax your other calf. And afterwards, I was like, and she said, okay, stay like that for as long as you want. She got quiet, and then people slowly got up. So I'm like, I stayed in it for a little while. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then when I got up, afterwards, I said that to her. I'm like, that was amazing. That shavasana thing, that was like unreal. And she goes, well, if you liked that, you should look into, meditation, mindfulness meditation. And I went to the center in East Hampton, and they had an introduction to mindfulness course, and I just instantly connected with it. Like from the first class till I lost my son, I could probably count on two hands how many days I didn't formally sit and do a meditation to introduce myself to my body. Is basically what you're doing, right? Be self-awareness kind of thing. And I connected with it instantly. They put a lot of classes on at the Insight Meditation Society. It's Insight Meditation of Pioneer Valley now is what it's called. That's not what it was then. But they have all kinds of classes and things like that. And I just was going. I was going to them constantly. I couldn't get enough
And there
until
isn't a
COVID.
right
I was
or-
at the
right.
center all
Is
the
there
time.
is- There really isn't a right or a wrong way to do it as long as you just take the time.
Correct. So this is because my daughter was one now. Dad, I can't sit still. And I mean, I'm poster child for ADHD. I have ADHD. I can't sit still.
We
either,
might
right?
be guilty.
So a lot of people, right? So a lot of people, and also I talk a lot. So for people to sit there,
We might be
you
guilty.
sit down, you sit down, you don't talk, and you don't move for like up to 45 minutes. That's like, and my daughter's like, I won't be able to do that. I won't be able to do that. I said, here's the bar. Your intention to go sit, you sit. Once you sit, all you have to do is you focus on your breathing. Can you breathe? Yeah. All right. So you sit, focus on breathing. That's how high the bar is set.
Yeah.
And the teacher that did the instructions for me said, if you do that, you can't do this wrong. Because whatever your intent. So if you go, one of the things that you try to do is to remember to keep coming back to the body, some body sensation, right? So if you're I'm sitting in this chair, I can feel my sit bones in the chair. I can feel the pressure in my body in this chair, right? So I focus my attention there. And while I'm doing that, I start thinking about the grocery list. I got to go, I got to stop at the grocery. I got to go do this. You remember, oh, wait. I'm not supposed to be doing that right now. I'm supposed to be. So then you come back to sitting in your chair or your breath, some body sensation. I don't use breath just because I have sinus problems, I have asthma and stuff like that. So there's three different anchors you can use. One of them is the breath. One of them is body sensations, your body energy, pressure in the body. Another one is sound. The sound is another good one for people. A lot of people sit out in the woods and you listen to the birds, but you don't sit. If you're starting to go, oh, that's a red herring. That's it's just sound. You hear it as sound, right?
Someone
And you
once
get into
told
your
me
meditation.
that when those thoughts come into my head, think of it as like a cloud just passing by.
A log in a river. There's a lot of
Yeah,
analogies
yeah,
about just let it flow
let
through.
it-
In other words, don't give it energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the piece. So that's the mindfulness practice, right? So that's the formal sitting and that's the practice. mindfulness throughout the course of your day is now to be able to do that. We have thoughts all the time. And I say this to my kids a lot of times. Do you ever want to just kick a puppy? And they're like, what? That's it's like, yeah. Well, you just have this stupid thought that comes in your head. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
kick
like,
a puppy.
well, yeah,
You're not
what
actually
do
gonna
you-
kick a
Right.
puppy, right?
Right.
But you just,
Where'd it
where'd
come
that
from?
come from,
Yeah.
right? The mind just does weird stuff sometimes, right? So you have these weird thoughts. You don't have to pay attention to them. So the formal sitting practice, what it does is it prepares you to be able to recognize a thought coming in and say, hey, I don't want to give energy to that thought. Hey, maybe I should give some energy to this thought, right? So where do you focus?
Yeah.
And what that has done for me, it turned me from the dude that was angry all the time. There's a lot of emotional work and understanding of emotions, under self-awareness, those are social emotional learning. I did a year-long teacher training in mindfulness and social emotional learning. I actually have a
Wow.
certification in meditation instruction, mindful instruction. And that's kind of what all those lessons and insights is what helped me to go from being that my angry reactions all the time. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have angry reactions now, because that would absolutely
Yeah.
not be true.
Yeah.
And I was talking about the book one time in front of a guy that I golf with. He goes, "I've seen you on the golf course, dude. You see." So yeah, it's not a magic wand. It doesn't get rid of everything. There's still all those same things that are involved in, are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you lonely? Are all those other things that influence our level of reactivity versus response to things.
Well, for me, I look at my emotions as a room and dolls. And there's the angry one, there's the pissed off one, there's this, and I take them down when I need them. But I prefer to have the nicer dolls around.
Yeah, they're a little lower. I can reach the happy one,
yeah.
really. I got to
Yeah,
reach for anger. See, I was a little bit the other way. The anger was right here, and I had to reach.
But it's a choice. It's an actual choice
Right.
I have to make.
Yeah.
Because when I'm driving and the jerk in front of me, and I'm thinking, well, he can't hear a damn word I'm saying.
Yeah.
But, and I go, all right, just,
Yeah.
okay.
Just
Isn't
chill.
it funny how
Just
no one else
chill.
on the road knows how to
Right.
drive except you?
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Except
yeah.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So true. It's so
Absolutely.
true. Yeah.
But it's an actual choice I have to make to bring myself back
Yeah.
to me.
And that's what the formal practice has allowed me to do more often.
Yeah.
I won't say always.
Yeah, yeah,
More
yeah,
often.
yeah.
More often. And
I
for a
just-
while, I got disconnected from
Yeah.
after I lost
Yeah.
Brad.
I
for
just
2.5 years.
noticed that though, like as I get older, things change, and
Yeah.
I've learned to put that anger to the side and
More
be more
often.
humble. Yeah, more often than only once in a blue that it come out. But for some reason, like when I was younger, there was a lot of anger and stuff like that. And the bad words would come out all the time, real fast.
Well, and
real
our
fast.
I think
Yeah.
our heritage plays a part in that. We're hot-blooded.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're Hispanic.
Ooh,
I'm Italian. I talk with my hands.
I'm French. but
So,
I don't know what
yeah. So, but then as you get older and you're learning as you're growing, and I've learned to let a lot of that go.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of that go.
Well, I don't like the way it makes me feel. And
That's another thing that you learn in mindfulness practice. Connect after you have these emotions. Connect with how
Right.
they make you feel, and remember that. And then when you have other emotions that make you feel good, connect with those emotions, and then it starts to condition you to go, okay, why would I want to go down that road? That one sucks. That one's fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
Big time.
even sometimes hours, even days, depending on how emotional I get, it affects me that long.
Absolutely.
And I've started to notice that where before I didn't.
Well, that's the story. You can hang on to it, right?
Right.
You can hang
Yeah.
on to stuff. One of the, I talk about my faith a little bit in the book, and one of the struggles for me was we were, faithful Roman Catholics, and I was always expecting the miracle. And I would sit there and say, when we're going to hospital, we're going to go there, and they're going to say he's fine. It's amazing. He's doing so well that the condition's gone. Whatever, doesn't need the pacemaker no more. And I would have that expectation, and then when I'd go and that expectation didn't happen. Missed expectations create disappointment. That level of disappointment, I didn't let go of it. Like, all right, even if I did expect that I had a mindfulness practice, I might be disappointed, but then I would have been like, all right, let go of that. I hung on to that for months, and we were going to Boston Children's 4 times a year, so it kept me in a funk all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. You get caught up in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, a wise person once told me you need a lot of tools in your toolbox
Yep,
to get through
absolutely.
this life. They asked me, how many do you need? I go, I don't know.
I'm still finding some.
I'm thinking in quite a while I'm going to be fine.
It's a big toolbox.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
I gotta get a roll away.
Well, because I mean, that's why Becky and I started, the Energy Up other program that we brought it to this, because a lot of people, we've had our own trials, like
Yes.
most people, and they say, well, how can you guys be so happy?
Yeah.
It's a choice.
It's a
Yeah,
choice.
it is.
It's
That's
a
another
choice.
theme in the book.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
It's like, why
Yes.
not be happy? Why do you want to be miserable? I don't want to be miserable. Why?
We can't
Right.
change it,
No.
but we can make it better.
But I don't know that people understand that they have choice in that. And Brad, I mean,
Right.
and I'll say that from personal, because I didn't think I had choice in that. Because I'm like, this happened to us,
Yes. Yeah.
But I would watch him. It's happening to him more than it's happening to me, and he would make the choice to not be unhappy, miserable, grouchy, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd ask. There was times I'd ask him, and he's, it's just a choice, Dad. And he would say it like you're choosing, skim milk over 2% milk.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you have
mean, yeah.
no idea how incredible that makes you, because
It
he
is,
just
yeah.
could. The first step is to recognize that it's a choice,
Right,
and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
our traumas and our things like that. Yes, they're hard, and again, no judgments to anybody. But if you stare at them, if you stare at your traumas your traumas are just going to control your day. And
Yes.
I can't imagine staring at any trauma
Yeah.
that's not going to make your day less, more miserable than happy.
Yeah. Well, that's what. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened to me. Like when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. Some people were just like, why? Why is this happening? I'm like, there's no why. I just said I pick up my cross and I carry it and I keep moving forward, because why am I going to dwell on it?
But that story that you told at your mom when you were up in North Adams, when you told your brother,
Yeah.
what did you end up doing after you told him?
Oh yeah. So I went to tell my brother, actually, because he was up in North Adams when I got the diagnosis, and of course we had our little moment, and he was like, you're tough, you can do this no matter what. And then we started walking down, and there was this big open field, and we just started running around doing cartwheels, flips, and
Nothing
my
like
mom's-
acting like a 5-year-old. It's awesome.
and my mom's looking at us like, what? Like you
gotta play.
You just were
Yeah.
told
Yeah.
today that this morning you have cancer, and here they are running around flipping. And I'm like, I'm with my brother.
fun.
We're gonna make the best out of this, because what is the sense of sitting there dwelling over it? Yeah, I told them we had our moment, and then you're out that moment and keep moving.
Yeah.
That's
And,
that's how it is.
and kids teach you that. My son had his, in Boston.
Right.
And at 5, they wanted to wait till he was 7. He had an atrial septal defect, and they didn't have enough. They only had 3 size valves at that time. And they were able to repair his mitral valves by stretching it. But I would sit there with the kids, and we would do a stealth thing, and we would steal a box of rubber gloves. And then we'd make turkeys, and we'd put them all in the elevator, and we'd watch, and a bunch of us would sit there, and the kids would be like, and you got to play.
Yeah.
You got to play, because if
Yeah.
you're not, you're sad all the
Yeah.
time. You're
Yeah.
sad.
That's
Yeah.
what did I used to I used to say this to Brad all the time. I said, you don't stop playing because you get old because you stop playing.
Yes, it's so true.
So true.
It
But
is.
yet, when we're this age, you saw our introduction, and people like, how, you were down there all
Right.
We're like,
Because that's the kind of crap that's the kind of stuff I used to do. And Brad
Yeah.
would join me because
Yeah.
he was a little kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was like,
Yeah.
people was like, I can't
We-
believe you're still doing
yeah,
this. And I'm
like-
like, if I stop playing, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Playing is fun.
my philosophy, it's not.
I can't do cartwheels anymore. I
right.
might need a hospital.
Yeah.
If I try to cartwheel, I might need a hospital. But
I never did a cartwheel, but my philosophy's always been, it's not one more day, it's one less day.
Yeah.
Right.
And what does it matter?
Right.
If you go out there and you make a fool of yourself.
Well,
Am
because
I
we're
really-
kids, no matter
Yeah.
what, you're always a kid within.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially if you weren't able to be a kid when you were a kid,
Right.
because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that weren't able to. So, like,
wasn't.
you still have to have that fun. You still have
Yeah.
to let go and let loose and just
Right.
have fun.
And
Yeah.
unless you've experienced that, you don't understand it.
No.
I know a lot of people that are just very self-conscious. It's like, well, how do you
Yeah.
do that? We used to belong to a camping group, and there was 4 of us who dressed up like women. We were we were like the Pointer Sisters or something like that, right? And we're dancing all, and people,
love it.
but see,
Oh my God.
So that was fun for me, but it's also put like I have like 40 people in front of me, laughing at the same time. Actually, there's actually a YouTube video. I forget what it's, Gangnam Style at PV8. If you go online, I show my students all the time. Because, man, I'm wearing this big green hat. I'm teaching people how to do that.
But aren't kids amazing?
It's fun.
Yeah.
Kids are
that's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
They
think it's
keep,
awesome.
and I think if you watch kids especially, you can't be anything.
Till you make
but-
them self-conscious. Which,
Well,
so that's
there is.
so
yeah.
that's again
My
that's
son.
parenting. It's like
Yeah.
be careful.
Yeah.
Don't you make them self-conscious, then they
Yeah.
stop playing.
Yeah. Definitely.
And you should never stop playing.
Right.
You never should.
Yeah.
But my son unfortunately had one of those moms that, he'd be like, oh God, here she comes.
Straight
'cause
up.
I'd be
Straight
yeah,
up. Straight up.
But look at him today. He plays.
Right.
He
Yeah.
plays because that's what we
Yeah.
did.
So one of the things that I really liked also too in the book, you talked about how the support that you got from like the camping group
Yep.
and your family and all that stuff because of back and forth, and
Community.
I thought
Right.
that was very, very
Well, and that is again, that's the storyline. Well, when I say Brad's connection, Brad created community everywhere he went. And his last 3 years was at Framingham State University, and they had a memorial. And I can't tell you how many people came to the mic to say, Brad was the first one to welcome me. Brad helped me through depression. Brad listened to me this. And that was just so. Yeah, it was that. You're making individual connections here and there, but what you're doing is creating community.
Community,
Right, and
yeah.
that's
Big
I
time.
talk to my students about that all the time. In this classroom, we are a community.
yes.
Yeah.
And everything we respect our community. Everything we do builds the community, not breaks
Yes.
down the community.
Yes.
Things like
That-
that. But again, unless you know that, unless you've experienced that, it's hard sometimes to do it. That's why we have to talk about it.
Yeah,
That's why I think
absolutely.
this show is awesome to be able to kind of spread that ideas and thoughts.
Now, did I hear right? But are you going to come to Energy Up and have a mindful class?
Yeah,
Or did I
if
hear?
we're going to talk about in the
Yes.
winter, over
Yeah.
once people are a little bit more stuck in their house to be able to
Yes.
get out. or
Yeah, I
whatever.
think that's a
Definitely.
great time.
But
Definitely.
yeah, I'm welcome to share what I know about mindfulness, how it worked for me. Again, I'm a certified mindfulness instructor, so I can talk about what a meditation is and all that. But we're going to do it probably over a course of a few weeks, so that
Yeah.
you can. All right, we'll talk about it. I'll give you some. Here, try these things. Come back the next week, and then I'll be
Homework.
like, this
Homework.
what happened, that happened.
Yeah.
Because even when I was in the introduction class, like I said, it resonated with me right out, and I talk about this in the book. It resonated with me right out of the gate. I had no problem sitting, but then I'd go back that next week. And same thing, then teacher, well, how was everybody's experience? And I heard, people, I couldn't do it. Or I sat and this happened. I'm like, I'm like, that wasn't my experience. So it was interesting to hear
yeah.
what people's struggles were
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when people are in hell, there's no light. That's what hell is. And
Yeah.
I don't know what sparks it for some people. I don't know what it sparked it for me, really, or you. It's a moment, and you see that, and you go forward. And so at least I think by them just coming,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
which is better
Coming
than
and listening, yeah.
exactly.
Right. And
Yeah.
trying it
Yeah,
out, yeah.
because you have a lot of people come to your store
Yeah.
that, she has different, like with psychedelics and
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
like that.
Right.
Different
And-
talks.
yeah, but
Different talks.
They just listen, and
Yeah.
that's it. Just listen.
Some of them just come just to listen.
Yeah.
They're, new to it and stuff like that. But then they start listening and they're hearing testimonials. They're hearing other people ask questions where it's making them feel comfortable. And then they start to speak up, because
Right.
they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, just come and listen. Just
Right.
listen. No, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. You're just coming to listen. And before they leave, they're just like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like juices, when they come in and they want to be healthy, and I failed. No, you tried one juice. Baby
Yeah.
steps, we tell them.
Right.
Yeah, baby
Just
steps.
baby steps.
Definitely.
And I think that's important, baby
Yeah,
steps, and
absolutely.
letting people know that that's okay.
Right.
You don't have to change the whole world in a week or yourself. You
Right.
can't do that.
No, yeah.
Well, it's just being open, be a little open-minded,
Yeah.
to check something. Well, even for me, and I think I spelled this out in the book, I edited it. It was 125,000 words to begin with. Now it's like 93,000 words. So it took some stuff out. So I'm not sure if this is still in there. But my experience at the center, I grew up in very conservative environments, right? That was kind of my MO and stuff. And I'm going into a place that's pretty liberal environment. I'm also very extroverted and very outgoing. But I knew that in this place, my job was to listen. to just sit back and just listen to people's experiences. And when you hear other people explain their experiences, they might say something like, I disagree with that. And then you hear their viewpoint in there. I'm not saying I changed my mind, but it helped me to understand. And that is the culture that I usually try to create in my class. It's not you don't have to change. I don't have to believe what you believe. You don't have to believe what I believe.
Yeah.
But we can have a conversation, and you can at least hear where I'm coming from, and maybe it develops some kind of understanding
I
of
love
where we're
that.
coming
I
from.
love that
You know?
because that's what makes us all individuals.
Right.
And the bottom line, are you a good person? That's all it it doesn't matter what you are, doesn't matter what you believe, are you a good person?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I love different opinions. I love it.
Right.
I love to debate those different opinions. You know, I personally believe in aliens. Other people look at me like, "Ooh, okay."
I do. I
You
do.
know, I mean, I do, you know, I mean,
right.
and they'll say, well, why? And I'll go, well, look at the jellyfish, the immortal jellyfish. I mean, just that alone. I can't do that.
Just listen to scientists. They'll be
Yeah.
like, the universe? So here's a concept that we're getting into really deep stuff now, right? But like a concept we don't understand it is infinity.
Yeah.
A no beginning and no end. We don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like we really don't understand that. And our universe supposedly has no ending. Like,
Yeah. It just keeps.
so you're telling me that there's nowhere
Nothing.
else in that vast space where there can be life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
I used to
I
take,
could have
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I used to take my son out, and we lived on a lake in northern Maine, and we were the only year-round residents, there, two of us. And I would say, look at the stars, there were no light
Oh,
pollution. I'd say,
beautiful.
tell me what you can't believe. Tell me what you can't believe. Look up there and tell me what you can't believe.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
how I raised him. And he's
Right.
like, okay, Mom. All right. Just a little bit of,
Yeah.
but he
Open up
still
that
had-
mind.
yeah.
It's about opening up that
Just
mind.
open your mind.
And again, it doesn't mean I have to believe what someone else,
Right.
but you understand where they're coming from. You
Right.
understand their point of view. I always say you're answering the question why, right? You can answer somebody's why. This is why I think this way.
Right.
And you have experiences that shaped you. You've had experiences that
Yeah.
shaped you. I've had experiences that have shaped
Yeah.
me. None of
And we
those
share.
experiences have been the same.
No.
No.
Right? So
Yeah.
we are all gonna have a different viewpoint or whatever. But when you come in hot, you have to believe what I believe. That's when there's
No,
problems.
Yeah.
that's
when
when
there's
there's a
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
Like we love, one of our favorite things to do is come over to my house. We have a fire, which they made me get away with. I got a gas fireplace now.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to it. Okay.
Did we blow something up?
Well,
Did we just?
I'm kind of a pyro.
The branches are on fire. Is that supposed to happen? I don't know.
You sound like Danny now. He's like, oh. But all of a sudden, we'll look and she'll.
Oh my God! I think I got there once. It was 4, and we looked, and it was 10.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, where did
Because-
the time go?
Yeah.
But you just get into it.
Yeah.
And you just get into it,
Connection.
and you just
Yeah.
keep talking, and you just keep.
And here's how do you feel after?
Awesome.
Right. It's like how
Awesome.
and that was something I used to talk to Bradley about all the time. It's like, yeah, after you do all these, how do you feel after? And then compare that to the time that you just went alone in your room and sat in your room because
Yeah,
you just wanted to
scrolling.
struggle with something and you didn't want to be with anybody. And how long did you stay?
Yes.
there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was much better at it than I was. He was, and he used to tell me I need my alone time. That's how he processed.
Yes.
So that's where he would. So he actually is one that taught me about emotion and being okay with emotion. And it wasn't a verbal thing. It was just, again, his presence and me watching him and how he was. I saw the course of what he did be beneficial for him, right? And he would tell me, it's like, and he actually would say, Dad, you're the one that taught me that. I'm like, really? I don't do it myself, so I don't know how I taught you that. But it was through one of our conversations. I say, well, and this is a mindfulness thing. You visit your emotions, you be with them. And if you have to go through them instead of going around them, avoid them, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Well, what Brad would tell me is like, yeah, when I'm feeling down about something, and not for nothing, a lot of times what he told me he was getting down about is how his health stuff affected us. Meaning myself, my wife, and my daughter. My daughter and my son were super, 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 super close. And Ashley had a lot of anxiety around it, and it really, really hurt him. That his condition hurt his sister.
I've always said it's hard on both sides.
So he would sit with that, and then he would, he'd sit with that, and then he said, I'll sit with it, I'll cry, I release, and then I look up and I engage with a friend. I go do some stuff with friends in there, and
Yeah.
right back. His energy's right back, and and he's
Yeah.
just doing
Yeah.
cartwheels around.
He would have his
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
and then
And he's you know, he would talk about that. I'm like, oh, so that's, I do the same thing. You
Yeah.
know, even now, you know, I don't have my son here in the way that he was, but I used to say I lost my son. My son's just here in a different way.
yes,
Yep.
yes,
now.
yes, yes.
You know, he's
Absolutely.
here. He's in my mind. I do talk to him. I do believe in a higher power. I do believe that our souls are somewhere else afterwards.
Yes.
I don't believe
Absolutely.
this is it for us.
No,
You know, and
no.
this is where
No.
you know, I have different beliefs, and you know, so you might, all right, these guys get a little weird sometimes, but this is just, you know, when we're done with this meat sack, our energy goes somewhere else.
I agree.
That's kind
I
of-
agree 100%.
So his energy has reached out to me, and not for nothing. Again, it was a story I said in the book. And this also speaks to Brad and the way we were together. So he had just found out that, you know, he's got days left. We were waiting I called to get his mom and his sister to the hospital. While it's a 2-hour ride. While they were there, we had some conversations, and we were crying together about, you know, what was going on, and words out of his mouth were, "Dad, please don't let this ruin you."
Yeah.
Those are actual words that he said to each one of us, which I believe to this day is beneficial for all of us, because it was an actual request of his. We want to honor that, and it's a remembrance whenever things are getting too hard. But we're sitting there, and we had talked about, you know, death and what happens after we worm food, what really happens, and I said to him, I said, "Brad, soon you're gonna know." You're going to know. And I said, I don't care if you come back and visit me as a gerbil or a rat.
Yeah.
Come tell me, fill me in. And there was a lot of emotion when we were doing this, right? This wasn't our normal jovial philosophical conversation. We were crying at this point, but I meant it. I'm like, look, you're going to know. And it was my way of saying, stay connected with me.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
stay. That's really
Yeah.
what I was doing, is stay connected with me. And we had a little bit more conversation, and Brad's face instantly changed. He gets into that, his happy smirk, you know, just I can't explain it, but Brad's face that would always make me smile. He gets into it and he goes, "A gerbil or a rat, Dad?
Yeah.
Really?" You know, and,
Yeah.
and then we're laughing
Yeah.
together. So in
Yeah.
this moment, this horrific, what's more horrific than finding out you're going to lose your child in days? In this horrific moment, we're having laughs
You
together,
both
and
do.
I experienced joy.
Yeah.
I actually experienced joy in that moment with him. And if I didn't have a mindfulness practice, I would not have been able to do that.
Oh,
And you're
yeah.
remembering those parts that brought you joy. then,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
just
Well,
the
that's what I
part-
mean by the mindfulness practice. Like, my awareness
Yeah.
is that, you know, here we are laughing. He would have said that, we still probably would have chuckled, but maybe that, I don't know if I would have then went dark again. Without a mindfulness practice, I don't know how I would have handled the whole thing. That whole month would have been there. His last month of his life was spent in a hospital, and I was with him almost every day. If I didn't have my mindfulness practice, I don't know how I would have handled all that. By this time, I've been conditioned by my mindfulness practice for probably about 8 years. Six or 7 years anyway. So I had developed a lot of insights, a lot of awareness around how to handle this. Him and I knew each other. We couldn't have known each other any better, right? So I knew when he was a certain way, what he needed. He knew when I was a certain way, what I needed. So we were just, you know, phenomenal
had-
together.
yeah,
So
you had a
that whole month would have
connection.
gone differently if I didn't have a mindfulness practice to begin with. So to say that's the only thing that came out of it, I don't know. But because of my mindfulness practice, there were instances where, okay, he's going to be gone soon, and I can feel joy. I did the same thing later on that same day when his sister and mother were there, and, you know, we're joking, and he's singing to his sister and joking with his mom or whatever, that I sat there and I'm like, proud dad of an incredible family.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, and I felt that joy. And it's still like, even though I'm getting choked
Yeah,
up, but it's a
yeah,
happy choked
yeah.
up. It's a happy choked up, like that we just the family that we were. And we still are.
Still are, yeah.
You know, the
Yes,
three of us
you
that are
still
left
are.
here. But yeah, so now it's not
Yeah.
4 of us. There's 3 of us. And again, he exists in a different way.
Yeah.
For his mom,
Yeah.
for his sister, and myself, probably in a little bit different ways. But we're, you know, Julie, she's a cardinal, and that's Brad coming to say hi.
Yeah.
And she sees
Yeah.
cardinals
Yeah.
all the time. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, no, you're still a family. Like you
Right.
said, it just changes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Right.
That's why when I saw you at the shop, I was like, did he come back as a
As a gerbil or a rat. Yeah, he
Because I read it and I was like, I gotta ask him.
I never had a rat or a gerbil come through. But Brad and
Yeah.
I we both love being outdoors. And I actually have a hawk on my arm. A hawk, birds of prey, where we really love them or stuff like that. I've had some pretty incredible interactions with hawks.
Nice.
And,
Yeah.
and that's So he didn't come back as a gerbil, as a rat. He came
Back.
he's come back as a lot of things. Actually.
Yeah.
If a gerbil ever walks through my living room,
Oh,
that
Or-
will be
or- yeah.
that's something, because I don't have a gerbil. I'm allergic to gerbils. So
Well,
No.
we're getting down to time, and I want to ask you with the scholarship.
Yep.
Now, when does that happen? When do you start
So-
having your
All right. So
fundraiser?
one of the other things that Julie does for Brad's legacy is we have a memorial scholarship fund for Brad. The fundraiser, as a matter of fact, when he passed, his friends did a what those things called? I forget. GoFundMe.
Oh, yeah.
And we had made provisions and stuff like that. Most of that GoFundMe page's money went into the starting of the scholarship.
Wonderful.
And my wife and my daughter as well, she helps with it. They do phenomenal at like keeping funds in there. So we were originally going to do a golf tournament, but that takes a lot of work, making money.
Yeah.
We started playing cornhole over here at 413 Cornhole in Westfield at
Nice.
East Mountain Country Club, and that another great community, like super supportive community. Another community, super supportive. So we're like, hey, how about we try a cornhole tournament? So. Julie went to Joe, who runs it, Joe Lamonte, said, hey, can we do this? Sure, we'll set one up. He said, you guys don't have to do nothing. We'll take care of it.
Oh, wow.
We
Okay.
just, they charge a small fee. They take care of the whole cornhole tournament part of it.
Nice.
But my wife, being my wife, has to do something. So she is a guru at getting raffle prizes.
Raffle, yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's really a cornhole tournament and raffle
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of, we have the cornhole tournament. It's usually in April. I think we've done it the second Sunday in April. If that venue is available at that,
Okay.
it'll be the same time again next year. But a lot of people come. The bar's open. There's food there. The restaurant's open. A lot of people will come and just we were seasonal campers. Some of our
Yeah.
friends will come. They'll sit and get some chili fries and a beer. Buy raffle tickets. When the raffle's done, they go.
Yes.
And then the other half plays cornhole.
When does
with us.
Julie start looking for raffle prizes?
You'd have to ask her. I don't know. To be perfectly honest with you, but
Yeah.
probably I'm sure she.
As it gets closer to the new-
Well, actually, one of the things we did last year, anytime we went to an event that had raffles, if we won any raffle prizes, they just went in the room and they
Yeah.
became raffle.
Yeah, why not?
Not that.
Well, the reason I'm
So she's
asking-
always
yeah.
she's kind of always up for if someone
Okay.
donates something, she'll never say no. But I think she starts actively somewhere in January. After the
Okay.
holidays, starts promoting
Right.
promoting it. We'll get after January, I can usually get the date to find out when the venue's open, and then that's when she starts, and she'll say, "Oh, so we just got Red Sox tickets," and she puts it out on
sweet.
Facebook,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
what gets people to go and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we've done it 2 years. The first year, cornhole tournament. Now we raised over $10,000 at a
Nice.
cornhole tournament.
Nice.
Last year we raised
Wonderful.
almost $9,000.
Yeah.
And we give scholarships to East Hampton High School, Framingham State College, and we have also given it out to other people that have said, "Oh, my son's, they're starting out doing this, that," and it's like, all right, that's what the funds are for.
Okay.
So last year, I think we gave away $7,000 to help young people out. This year, we gave a little over $5,000. I think
Yep.
$5,500 we gave out this year in raffle scholarship prizes because we've just done so well. So there's a lot of
Nice.
money in
Yeah,
there.
I mean, because
That's
we
good.
want to help, by
Yeah,
putting it out there.
definitely.
Danny's got experience, Westfield and more, so
You're right.
just more people on your team.
To help
should-
out.
Yeah, just
Right.
to help out,
Yeah.
to make it
Yeah.
even bigger
Community.
and better.
That's
every-
where,
yeah,
and that's
community.
like you were talking
definitely.
about the support that we had through all of what happened with Brad. In that book all the time, we couldn't
Yeah.
have done stuff without the support of the people that care about us. So our communities have changed a little bit because as
Yeah.
you grow older, your
Yes.
communities change.
Oh,
you
yeah,
do
of
different
course,
things or
of
whatever.
course.
Yeah.
But
So anybody wants to give a
awesome
raffle
people.
prize, I mean, you
Yeah,
can get hold of me
definitely.
and Becky, and
Yep.
you
Yeah.
come down Energy Up, I mean, because it's
Yep.
easy
Well,
to
we-
do
yeah,
that, and we can
yeah.
get a hold of Gary.
Yeah.
And anything, I tell people
Yeah.
like, I know a young man who has, he does pools. And I said, even a raffle prize to come clean your pool.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I think
Anything,
that's, yeah. I mean,
Anything.
anything is,
Is wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because
anything,
you never
definitely.
know. So, yeah, we
Yeah.
can get that word out there,
Yeah.
because I'm.
Definitely. Once
Appreciate
the year, the new year, because I'm sure you will start pushing it for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
We can have you guys come on Coffee Talk again also. And,
I'm here again even.
and talk, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
come up on here again and spread the word, basically.
Yeah,
Spread
awesome.
the bigger the better,
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's to help others. That's what it's
Right.
for. So that's what we want to do.
Right.
Is help.
Yeah.
Well, and it fills us when we, to be able to, first of all, when we're there, all our communities come together, and it's just like it. I cry every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
yeah,
do
definitely.
you do a
People. And
GoFundMe
then-
page every year?
No, the GoFundMe, that was someone set
the
up
begin-
for,
yeah.
right? So,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
we hadn't done anything like that, but then, the monies that we collect go out and help
Yeah.
other families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
The recipients will usually send a thank you letter, but then there was one that actually a year later wrote Julie a letter about what she did with the money and what it did for, and it's just like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I say every time something gets helped through any cause of Bradley, he does a cartwheel in heaven.
Yeah.
It's his ripple effect.
Right.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
it's like because
That energy.
I know that he's overjoyed by the fact that his loss has created anything beneficial for other people because
Yeah.
he wanted to help people when he was here. So,
Yeah.
It's
And
a
you
movement, I
can,
would say.
where
It's a
can you
movement.
get your book, Gary?
so Amazon, it's supposedly it's on 20 different platforms, but my marketing company, I have no. I think you can go to Barnes and Noble and stuff like that online, and it might be on there. But the easiest
Amazon.
place right now is Amazon.
Amazon.
Go on to Amazon, type in "I love you mostest." It's there.
Yep.
They're supposed to be creating a within a week or two. I should actually have a website up where I have because a lot of people have. I wish I knew him. I wish I knew him. I wish I knew. Even though they feel like they know him from the book or whatever. And I had posted, I tell a story, and they're like, Brad, even when he was in the hospital, liked to have fun. So he used to get on his IV
Yes,
pole
I
and
saw
ride it down
it.
the ramp,
I saw
ride it
it.
down the ramps, and
Yeah.
then at 10 o'clock at night in the hospital, because they're all kids, are already sleeping. He gets up, he goes over where there's a downhill, and he's riding the. So a friend of his actually sent me a video because he did it in front of them, and I had posted it on Facebook. But
Yeah.
on the website, there's going to be things like that, little videos of him doing stuff like that,
So people to see.
pictures of our family that are,
Yeah.
so people
Yeah.
can put a visual to
Yeah.
the. I'm
makes
going to
it
start putting
personal.
blogs on it and things like that as well.
Yeah, well, it makes it personal. I know, like, when I give something and I know, it just makes me feel even better.
Right.
That I see the person I'm helping.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah.
So-
And we also have a couple of copies because you brought some to Energy Up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Juices and More. So if anybody in Westfield wants to grab a copy, we're open on Wednesday. We open up on Wednesday. We have a couple copies there too. So great book. The meaning behind it is beautiful. It's I love it.
Well, it's.
Me too.
It's
But-
mindfulness, resilience, and finding the light in the darkness. And that's what we all need. We just need that positivity in life. And we make it small, like start the small community. It becomes bigger ripple effect and it becomes bigger. And you just see how a community builds and starts to turn around into positivity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why, like I said, we started this to continue that positivity because we said we know what the world is, we know what's out
Yeah.
there.
There's a lot of the opposite out there.
Yeah,
You don't have to look far to see it.
You
but
don't
that's
have to
okay.
look far, but we live.
You don't have to live in it.
Right, we don't have to live in it, and Westfield to me is a great place
Yeah.
to build that even more.
Right. Yep.
And because the kids stay that way,
Right.
and people stay, and I love it that we go downtown and hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
How you
yeah.
doing here?
Yeah.
It makes you
Definitely.
feel a part of something. I told Becky the last show, I said, there's been times I've been walking down the street, going to something, and I get tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels good.
Yeah.
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 It feels good. It feels
The energy
feels like home.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's when you walk in the vibe in your stores.
Yeah.
It really is.
Isn't
Thanks,
it
yeah.
I
incredible?
liken it to Steve's vibe over at Go With The Flow.
Go With The
You know,
Flow, yeah.
It's
Oh,
just, it is,
Steve's,
the energy
yeah.
there is, it's just, and that's the people that reside
That's where
there.
we met.
That's,
Yeah, that's where we
Go
met.
Go With
Yeah.
The Flow.
We met
We're
at
all-
Go With
Yeah,
The
that's
Flow.
true. All of us met there.
Yeah.
too, and at different events, too.
Yes.
With
Yeah,
at different events.
Yeah.
It's a different
So-
event.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
another
kind of-
place.
yeah.
He does a beautiful
Yeah.
job.
Beautiful job.
Yeah,
Beautiful
Steve.
job.
I went there and that was, I guess we're getting
We're
that.
getting.
Alrighty, well, thank you
We're getting
so
the sign.
much. Well, again,
Yeah.
thank you,
'Cause
Gary.
We don't know how to talk. Over
We can keep going. We can keep going. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Thank you.
being on our show, talking about your book, I Love You Mostest. Like he said, it's on Amazon. Anybody in Westfield wants to pick it up at the shop, you can. And we look forward to having you guys back on. Well, having you back on to talk about the scholarship fundraiser. So
Awesome.
Absolutely.
and Thank you all for watching, and share and comment anything out there, positivity
Yeah.
that you like. Please share. We love you.
Yeah, we love
Have
you.
a good
Peace
week.
out.
Love.